Hey everybody, welcome back to Garuda. In this episode, I'll be working on a new area in the park, adding a small flat ride with a small area around it, including 2 stone bridges, which I'm quite happy with how they turned out in the end. And it's all basically to expand the park a little bit so that we're almost going to be finished with this park and we're really trying to draw everything together at the end. Also, I'll be doing some of the foliage in a sense that I haven't really been doing so far, so I'll be adding some reed in the river and some vines here and there, actually adding some greenery and different textures around the landscape to just kind of fine-tune what we have so far. So it's a bit of an interesting episode, just doing all kinds of stuff to start finishing up the park already, and that's basically what we'll be doing. And as always, I am joined by the ever awesome Rudy Rankemel.
Hi there, and how are you doing today, Sylph?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm also fine, and I'm really happy to be back at Garuda and looking at your stuff again, because basically it's been a while since last week. Before that, I had the park for I think 3 weeks or so at mine, and so now I gave it back to you, and I'm really happy that you had finally time to go at this bridge, which I did actually put into this park as a little challenge for you. And also last time I wasn't hitting that bridge again. I just left it open for you again. And so yeah, I'm pretty happy actually how it turned out. And yeah, I think it's a really nice addition also to the ride in general. So have like a little piece that makes the ride a little bit more exciting because it's that close to the track, and people get the impression to be really fast and to be nearly hitting the bridge, but though it's just really close to it. And I think it's always a nice addition to a ride where normally the track wouldn't be that exciting, but with the help of some scenery objects, you really create a more exciting part of the track, which is pretty nice, I guess.
It's actually also pretty funny because we just now talked about that, but I forgot to hit the record button, so we're gonna have to redo this discussion. But yeah, it's a pretty good coaster nerd discussion, I guess, and I haven't really unleashed my full coaster nerd in the previous one, so I guess I'll take it one step further here. But yeah, that's the essence of a wooden coaster almost, and I guess these hybrid coasters are still wooden coasters in a sense, and it's little head chopper moments like these, as they call them, even though they don't literally chop heads, that give you that sort of fast out of control feeling that you get on a wooden coaster. I mean, even if you're not going underneath the paths, you always remember, right, those moments where it's going underneath previous parts of the track and you're going underneath the supports, and you just know those friends who are gonna like retract their arms every time you go underneath the support thinking that they're gonna hit the top of the supports. It's kind of that moment where the bridge is so close that it's almost like you're gonna hit it, but not quite, which also made it a pain in the ass to actually build this bridge, so thanks for that, I guess. But
You're
it was
welcome.
actually it was actually quite fun, and I think I also kind of talked about the fact that, you know, giving each other some random challenges can often just make you a little bit more creative, as you have to come up with ways to work around stuff.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit of detail, or just maybe a little element to the discussion, at least for me, it's also from the other way around. It's really interesting to be the one standing on this bridge. And for example, if you haven't been on this ride in a real theme park, it's so exciting to see the ride passing just really closely by, and you get even more excited to go onto this ride. And so it's also a kind of way to draw people into this ride. With the whole area around. So I really do like it. I just kind of remember this from, I don't know, I think it's one of the rides where it's not so much into it, but when you're in Disneyland Paris, there is the temple, what's it called in English? Temple of Peril, I guess, from the Indiana Jones ride. And it's also kind of, if you're just hitting the queue, you're just passing a little bit through the temple and just seeing the coaster taking the loop and stuff like this really close to the queue. And this is also something which is, yeah, making you even more curious to go on this ride. And I think I do really appreciate some elements like this. And yeah, so it turned out really amazing. But as I guess you said this last time as well, in the other recording, which wasn't actually a recording, but that the other bridge you made was kind of your favorite, which I really have to admit, it's super amazing because it's so simple and clean, but yet it's a great addition in detail. Maybe you want to talk about this again.
Oh yeah, that's actually great timing because we're just now getting into it. I just placed the flat ride that I wanted to have and a very small queue cover, and now we're getting into the bridge, which is actually my favorite thing of this entire build here. It's such a simple little bridge, just using some of the in-game arches and the pillar pieces to make something that's completely round. But I guess it's the cleanness of the bridge that I'm really happy with, because even though it's so simple and it's something that isn't even that difficult to come up with, it isn't rough around the edges. Like, everything just kind of works and it's cute. And I don't know what it is about this bridge, it's just neat. It's the kind of build where you don't feel like the build has been restricted by the limits of the game or the objects in the game, but you can actually come up with the design for something and you can go for it 100% without having to really try to optimize any in-game pieces in such a way that it's obvious.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and I must say, I'm just looking at the picture you sent me, where we have the view onto this bridge, which is in front of the little flat ride, and it's so amazing. It adds so much to this little area, and it's yeah, you just feel I want to go over this bridge, which is stupid to listen to, I guess, but it's just, yeah, you know, I do like the bridge a lot. I really like it. Yeah.
Maybe only so many years until we actually get VR in Planet Coaster. I know that's not gonna happen, but sometimes I do like to dream, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a project, I don't know if was it on Reddit or so, that somebody is going to try to make kind of an in-game VR experience by him or herself, just filming all the stuff and doing a 3D environment, or at least with some photos, I guess, was the idea. There was somebody doing this, but it's just a few months ago, I guess. I think people stopped it because it would be way too much work, I guess. But yeah, it's also, I think, a great idea to have VR in Planet Coaster somewhere in the future. But I think it's not the most important thing to be added.
Yeah, definitely. And for now, it's something that at least I know has been confirmed not to be the case.
Yep.
So I want to be very careful about that. But still, I can definitely see that fantasy of wanting to walk around in your own parks, because, you know, who doesn't? That's kind of the charm of it as well.
I mean, they also said you won't get go-karts that soon, and here we are. Go-karts confirmed to 1.2, so...
True.
I mean...
Pretty sure there were actually multiple cases like that. I forgot which ones there were, but there were multiple occasions where they were like, yeah, we're not gonna add this, and boom, next update, suddenly it's in there.
Yep, totally agree. And by the way, I just want to talk about the go-karts again. I just love them. You know, I also talked about this in one of my other episodes, I guess, but the thing is about the expectations you do have, and to be honest, I had some expectations when they're going to add go-karts. There was kind of, for me at least, the hope that they do have an own pathfinding and they are not sticking to the left and the right part of the track and stuff like this. And what they actually came up with is even better than I expected, and which means a lot, because I did expect quite a lot, because it's Planet Coaster and stuff they added yet in the game was always amazing, and they put a lot of thought in it, and they also did with the go-karts, and just from the stream and from the videos, it's just amazing, and I can't wait to see it in game.
Wait, so hold up, pitch me about this a little bit. Like, what makes the go-kart, like the way that they work, so special?
So, well, I can't remember a game where you have an open space like this go-kart is. You've got an open track, and each individual guest has his own pathfinding on this track, and he's all individual speed and aggressiveness. Is it the word? I don't know. And some are slower, some are faster in terms of finding the optimal apex. And Sam also talked about when there's somebody having the lead, he's always trying to get the apex, and so it's more possible that he's going to hit the apex too closely and spins around if he's trying to do this.
That's really cool.
And also, I mean, just in general, the option that people can spin out and have crashes is also so great. And as far as we have seen it from the stream, it doesn't seem to be scripted in any way. So that's something really cool about it. Because, I mean, they could have just implemented, like, I don't know, 20 to 30 sequences per individual guest, and it would have been great, you know? But it's just completely individual styled and pathfinding, which is, I think, amazing.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I wasn't even playing that up for the video. Like, literally, I didn't watch, or at least I didn't watch that part of the stream. So I'm gonna be disappointing a lot of people here. I watched as much of the PAX streams as I could, but I actually missed that, and I didn't go back to watch it. I was personally not that interested in the go-karts, but that actually sounds really good. So I'm sorry if I disappointed the entire audience there, but that actually does sound really good, and I'm definitely interested enough in go-karts. I mean, I know you're very much a go-kart lover person.
Yes, I am.
But the last time I've done it is like a very long time ago, quite a few years back, I think.
Yeah, for me it's also, again, just 1 year ago already, so it's about time to go karting again, I guess. Yeah, I'm really in love with it. I'm also playing a lot of racing games all of a sudden. Yeah, but yeah, in the past years there weren't so many great ones. But anyway, that's not the topic.
True. I guess you
information.
kind of wanted to talk about the updates a little bit. Actually, I do want to go back to the game a little bit, since at this point I'm mostly just doing the foliage. I added some of those like custom light posts and custom signage and stuff around the flat ride, which is pretty simple, but I'm quite happy with it, especially with the sort of golden accents that you see around Thailand. At least I think that's a pretty Thai thing. And now I'm just doing some of the foliage, where I want to give again a shout out to Mike of Planet Bro Coaster, just because I watched this video, and he's an expert on foliage, and he's been that for so many years now, and I was just glad to watch his video and not succumb to any of the sins of foliage that he mentioned. But he also gave some pretty good ideas on actually using the vines on the ground. So far I've just been using the vines on rocky cliffs and any kind of rocky textures and stuff to kind of give them a mossy texture to them, but using them actually on the ground as well, something that I didn't really think of, but it definitely adds a way of ground shrubbery and a way to break up the simple ground. That's quite neat, so I put that in there quite a bit. And there's also some reed alongside the water, which I'm not sure how good it looks. It wasn't actually my idea to begin with, but it's a way to spruce up the area a little bit.
Yeah, as far as I can judge from the screenshots, it looks amazing. It looks like, I know that there could be better pieces, but we don't have them, and for the sake of having this reeds, it looks pretty decent, I guess. It also adds something to the water, so that it doesn't look too clean and too yeah, I don't know how to call it. Something which annoys me a little bit about the water in Planet Coaster is kind of how the edges transform to the terrain. So there is kind of nothing like a transition, you know? It's just this really hard edge going on. And so, like, I always wanted to kind of cover up the areas where the water is going really slightly into the terrain. So for really sharp edges or waterfront, it's perfectly, because it's a hard edge and you exactly do want to have an edge like this. But for all other areas where it would be like really slightly going into the water, like really having this kind of neat and little border, I would have wished that there is kind of at least something, yeah, I don't know, how is it called, this little white washout stuff going on in the water.
Like there's some actual stuff. Like I was just thinking, like normally when you have the side of the water, there's always some stuff like accumulating, whether it's just dirt or some general foam or stuff that guests have dropped into the water. Sadly, there's always like some stuff accumulating on the side of the water, like where the stream is going. So that's one thing, though. I guess also what makes the water kind of hard to work is that you're mostly looking from a bird's perspective in the game, and water from that kind of perspective kind of always looks like this. I think generally when you're looking at a transition from like shallow water to land, where it's slowly transitioning from like very transparent to actually land, and it's really hard to look at that transition and make it look good from a bird's perspective. But I think normally the water in Planet Coaster, because of that, also kind of looks better from the guest's perspective. Like from a low perspective, the water works out a lot better.
Yeah, it does, and also the reflections and stuff like this are amazing. So this is really something which works great. And I'm just looking at the reflection at the moment, which is a really nice thing. I also think the best thing is definitely like how the little, it's just a little shelter or something, or a little roof you put over the queue area. And this one is also having a so nice kind of little mirroring stuff going on in the water, and it's so great because these golden assets you put on the roof, these little details, are also very shiny in the water. This is really great. I mean, that's like really nerdy stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to be so mad if Frontier didn't make good water though, because remember Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, which is a game from 2004, has water that still holds up today. It's so good. So if there was one thing that I had high expectations of in Planet Coaster, it sounds like the most stupid thing ever. But I had the highest expectation of the water, just because of how well Frontier has been doing it in the past.
Yeah, but dude, I mean, like, why are you just questioning if this sounds stupid? We're on your channel. People do expect that we're going nerdy about stuff like this.
Well, talking about water texture is already quite a bit further ahead from, like, I don't know, talking about coaster layouts and things like that. I mean, I'm always nerding out, but still, that's...
I think this series can also be really well known for going into nerd talk of so many.
Oh yeah, we're
topics.
Digressing all the time. It's terrible.
Well, I think it's fun, I guess. For me, at least, it's fun. I do appreciate that. So, where am we in the time lapse, by the way?
We're almost nearing the end, so that's pretty good. There isn't really too much that's still happening toward the end. I really just wanted to finish off the general area in such a way that it's actually presentable, and so that I can actually give the park to you. I didn't actually have any gardens. I've said the word actually way too many times, but I didn't even have any gardens or anything. I kept some places very open, because there's no such thing as a forest without an area that's not forest. I couldn't put that into any better words. Don't quote that. But it's hard to see the actual forest and the density of the jungle without actually having some more open areas. So I did put some open areas in there, but you can always fill those in with some flowers and stuff. I don't know what's gonna happen at some point in the future, but I just detailed these last areas in such a way that it's still quite open to really doing anything with them, but at least this part of the park is still somewhat finished at the moment.
Yeah, so I think it's really great, and I'm really looking forward to get my hands again on it. Yeah, so I think it's pretty decent, and I have to say that I'm really surprised in what extent we have made this park, just comparing to what we just had planned or not planned at the beginning. So it's so nice how it turned out.
Did we have anything planned at the beginning? Though?
No, we haven't had, I think.
No, I think we just kind of threw away some random ideas, like, yeah, we should have temples, yeah, we should have a jungle too, and what about awesome rock cliffs, and just throw impossible ideas against the wall until at some point they're gonna work, I guess.
Yeah, it's maybe something like a visualization of a brainstorming.
That's true. That's definitely true. But in the end, I'm somewhat surprised that it works as well in the end. Like, some of this is very far from as planned out as it might seem in some videos. Like, even though a lot of effort goes into every episode, that effort isn't necessarily spent on planning anything or trying to do everything in a proper way, if you say so.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, like, last episode, I just made a boat, so that wasn't planned at all, because I just wanted
It was
to
really
make a
cool, though,
boat.
like, actually putting the boats on, like, the wood and everything, actually moving it into the water. Jesus, I couldn't have come up with that.
Yeah, as I said, it was just kind of a little idea, but maybe as a last point, mentioning that, because of the comments on the last video, people just talking about the boat and the architecture of the boat, which is... I think, yeah, as I said, it brought me to limits regarding the way we can build in Planet Coaster, because I just came up with these kind of rounded shapes which is rounded in every direction. So it's upwards on the left, on the right, and also downwards. So every direction is somehow rounded up. And the pieces in Planet Coaster really do limit you to actually bring a really clean look to it. So if you just compare the boat's roof to your little tiny nice bridge over there, it's two levels of kind of clean shapes, and this is maybe something where we do have a limit with the building system in Planet Coaster, but I still do like the boat a lot, I have to say.
Yeah, this is true. Like, some of the pieces that I took for the bridge, I did mess around to make sure that everything was exactly what I was looking for. There was lots of trial and error and, like, trying all the different pieces before the bridge actually fit together. But when it comes to the wooden planks, there's not much else that you can do. The boat is definitely a little bit squarey looking at it, but there's not much of a way that you can actually bend wood as you would in real life. as you
Yep.
would in real.
Yeah.
I'm done. I think it's time to wrap up this episode.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Rudy, for being here again.
Yeah.
And
happy as always.
of course. And we're gonna continue next episode with, I have no idea what the hell we're gonna do. Probably just a few episodes until this series is finished. So stay tuned, and we'll see what we're gonna do next time.
Okay. Bye bye, guys.
Bye, guys.